So with time and degradation, basically, this knowledge about accessing subtler realms became limited, or was left in certain selected groups who could control this knowledge, and they started being corrupt. So at first it were priests and kings and queens, and then certain secret schools or spiritual religious movements or schools or sects. And so, but again, because of degradation, because of corruption, the dimensions that they were able to access were questionable, because they were getting more and more corrupt. So they started accessing lower dimensions, subtle dimensions, rather than higher frequency dimensions. And that also affected the form of spirituality that was being shaped through this process, right? And the type of spirituality that was shaping was becoming also demonic, right? So the more corrupt they were, the more corrupt form of spirituality was shaped or shaping at that time. And so even though some people could still access subtle dimensions, they started accessing sort of darker realms of subtle dimension and bringing it forth under the name of spirituality. That's why spirituality was tarnished. It darkened with time. It became demonic spirituality. So all we know about spirituality till the day, despite the fact that it speaks about divinity and God and all, these are all corrupt and mostly demonic, ritualistic forms of spirituality to drag souls down, to disperse them within the physical dimension, to confuse them and not to allow them to realize their true nature and reconnect with the subtler dimensions, with the higher subtle dimensions, not the lower ones. The lower dimensions, or the spirituality of lower dimensions, promised power, promised magic, promised abilities to manipulate the physical reality, promised some kind of recognition and rewards within the physical dimension, rewards for the body. But true spirituality has never been about the body. The physical body was just a fruit, just a result of the subtle being's dispersion, or the subtle being's degradation. And once you refine and dissolve that falsehood, limitation, corruption within the subtle being, the physical form refines as well. And most probably the physical form is dissolved into the light of the subtle form, right? But we don't know such spirituality. It's still very rare. We barely know about it. We hear maybe some crumbles here and there. We don't understand what light body is, because we're so engrossed in this physical dimension. So we cannot imagine the existence, our true existence on a subtle level, where we are subtle light beings of a higher frequency. But if one higher frequency light subtle being sees the other, they see each other as a physical. So the frequency through which we perceive each other here right now is a lower frequency. Once we are of a higher frequency, we are light beings of a higher frequency, and our bodies, Our physical bodies will be dissolved and our true bodies will be of a higher frequency. But when you register with your consciousness, if you are a higher frequency being and you register another higher frequency being, it will look as if physical. You understand? So the perception of dimensions depends on the frequency of perception. So all we know of life is just relevant for our current frequency. But we cannot imagine higher yugas or eras and what kind of existence was there, because we cannot, because it wasn't the same as it is now, because the quality of the body, the quality of existence, the frequency of existence of the body was different as well. It was more collective rather than individual too. And we can't contain it in our limited brains. All I can say. Kundalini awakening and spiritual evolution is about understanding what we are on the level of dimension, frequency, you know. And it has nothing to do with our concepts, earthly, limited, degraded ideas of spirituality. All these demonic ideas, all these ritualistic ideas. You can hold on to them, you can defend them with sword and gun, but it doesn't make you a light being, it doesn't make you a high frequency being, it doesn't make you realize that you're a part of a higher collective. Because you still resonate that low frequency, violent, corrupt existence, right? Yeah.